What's up, people? This is the first video of the new idea for my all-time 11 for different Premiership teams. Growing up, my first team I have memories of that sort of got me into football was the Chelsea team with Zola, Flo, Dennis Wise, Poyet, Babayaro, that sort of time. So I thought it'd be the best place to start. So I'm just going to go ahead. In between the sticks, Petr Cech. Now I'm talking about the Czech that was signed for when Mourinho's first stint at the club. I think his career's kind of tailed off a bit, but at the time I don't think there was anybody close to Cech, to be honest. So I've got him in between the sticks. Right back, there was quite a few to choose from. I always liked Melchiot and even Ferrer, even though he wasn't there too long, and obviously Petrescu. But I've gone with Ivanovic. I just think he's been a quality signing for Chelsea. They haven't had a great start to the year this year, but he can score goals, he gets forward, he's powerful, strong, and he's quite consistent. So Ivanovic at right back. My centre back is Carvalho. I thought he was another great signing. He added a bit of flair. He was definitely a ball playing centre back, and was a vital part of the team when Mourinho took over the first time. Partnering him at centre back, John Terry. This guy would die for Chelsea, and for me, he's the bravest player that I've seen in a Chelsea shirt. Like, he put his head where people would volley, and he's a very old school footballer, and you don't see a lot of that in today's game, and he's still doing it. It's John Terry. Left back, Celestine Babayaro. Now it was between him and Lasso for me, but I'm basing these teams on people I grew up watching. Before you go in the comments and sort of say, oh, how can you not have like Peter Shilton in goal, and you know, but I'm going for Babayaro, my left back. Just another one of the players I grew up watching with the Zola team. Quite a consistent player, great engine. He got up the line a lot. Was a great servant to the club. I'm playing a 4-4-2, by the way, in a diamond formation, because I had to play a 4-4-2 to fit this guy in. Now, it's Claude Makelele. I think he's one of the most underrated players to ever play the game. Just a lot of the work he did go unnoticed, and I think he was the main reason and the reason for Mourinho's success in his first stint with the club, because he built the team around Makelele. In my opinion, he's the best holding midfielder I've ever seen. Such a consistent player, hardly ever got injured, and he was just a class act. And as I said, without him, I don't think Mourinho would have had the success he had in the first spell if it wasn't for Makelele. Right side of midfield, Michael Essien. This might come as a surprise to a few people, but for me, the guy was he had so many assets to his game. He had a great engine. He could tackle. He could drive forward, and he had a thunder of a shot, like one of the best strikers of the ball I've ever seen. So he's on the right. On the left, I've got Poyet. The guy was just another class act. So much flair. I remember the bicycle kick he did, or scissor kick. Just a class act player. Definitely brought a continental style to the game, and I thought him and Zola were a great fit for each other, despite them not being in the same positions. I've just got a midfielder sitting behind the two strikers, one and only Frank Lampard. Frank, his record speaks for itself. His goals, like, he's got a striker's record for goal scoring, and he was a midfielder. I think it was discussed in Chelsea that he couldn't stay and retire at Chelsea. Him and Terry, for me, should have stayed till they retired. Another fundamental player in the stint of Mourinho's first spell. One of England's best ever players. Definitely should have won the World Cup for Lampard, I think. So he's sat just behind the two strikers. The first striker I've got, Zola. Zola was such... He was like a maestro. He was like a maestro, really, and like his turn of pace and like centre of gravity was just... I'd never seen anything like it, and the guy was so powerful for his size. Like, he would muscle off like 6 foot centre backs, and like he even scored headers. And he was, I don't even know how tall he was, but he wasn't tall. And I feel like they should have won more titles at Chelsea when he was there as well. They had a great team. So I was a bit disappointed just for him that he didn't. I felt he deserved to win more trophies at Chelsea. One of my favourite players to ever play in the Premiership, let alone for Chelsea. And his strike partner, Didier Drogba. For me, I think he was a more natural goal scorer than Zola, but that's not taking anything away from Zola. I've seen more of Drogba as well, but if it wasn't for Drogba, they wouldn't have won as many titles. His goals were so vital for them, and he was such a favourite for the club with the fans, and they wouldn't have won the amount of trophies they did if they didn't have Didier. I remember seeing him first for Marseille against Newcastle in the UEFA Cup, and I thought, who's this guy? Like, he dominated that game, and he got snapped up by Chelsea, and the career he had there was amazing. There's another player that I didn't want to leave Chelsea. He could have retired there as well. Obviously he came back for a second time. It didn't really work out, but great player. Seemed like a really cool guy as well. Let me know what you think in the comments. Obviously I'm going to keep coming with different teams, but drop in the comments if you want me to name certain teams, or a fan of, or you put your teams in the comments to compare them. Let me know your feedback, and I'll see you soon.